inflation is still running red hot and that it appears that that's going to continue for the foreseeable future. But I also argue that the Federal Reserve perhaps should not be too aggressive in raising interest rates too quickly or too aggressively. First of all, the pandemic is what actually caused this contraction, and knock wood, it appears that the worst aspects of the pandemic are indeed behind us. We're not likely to have huge shutdowns or a tremendous amount of absenteeism moving forward, and that alone should start to ease some of the supply bottlenecks that we've been seeing. Similarly, consumers are already starting to state that inflation is hurting their pocketbooks and that they are not as likely to buy large household items like houses, cars, and other goods. That alone, of course, has a contractionary impact. So in other words, inflation is already sort of doing its natural job, and maybe we should organically let the worst aspects of this pandemic ease on their own, which appears to have already started happening. Also, if interest rates increase significantly, we have to remember that businesses also borrow money, and if their interest rates are higher, it's going to make it difficult for them to borrow, and that's especially an issue when you look at the cost increases that they have been experiencing with a PPI of 9.7% year over year. Inflation, although it's a major problem, and I wouldn't say that we shouldn't raise rates, we shouldn't necessarily raise them 50 basis points or be talking about 6 or 7 increases within the next year. That's probably just too much medicine. This is a little counter to what a lot of economists say, but let's remember history. In the past, the Federal Reserve has often increased interest rates after a contraction is actually already starting, and that does appear to be the case this time. And unfortunately, that has precipitated recessions in the past. And given the last 2 years and the uncertainty that we've had, I think that's the last thing that we need.